but we do have a lot of amenities all over the city, so it's just happened over, like even university, we didn't have Oklahoma University, you know, before, like, and they offer gyms and they offer.
That's true.
The culture of communities has been changing in the last modern trying to see, like, we're gonna see, I think, more of that with aging buildings. Any building that's been around for a long time, they gotta make a change, or get the funding, or they move, or move to another site. Or offer a different product. That's a big thing for all communities across Canada and the world. Aging.
And the Y asked the city for us to buy it, and we looked at it, but they need a new boiler, a new roof. And that's just the start of it. And to your point, we have aging infrastructure as well. Why are a lot of them to buy it?
I just fear that, I know we couldn't do it like last year, but
Yeah.
we're not on, are we?
I'm gonna ask one, it still says live, I'm just gonna see if it's working.
Yeah.
Is it still working? Okay, we're good. I just needed new Wi-Fi. Whew. And without being live, we couldn't do the meeting.
Right, that's okay.
So, sorry for the delay. Can you hear me? Okay.
I'll let you read the first part.
Okay. We acknowledge with respect that we are meeting in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, known as Powhatan. Powhatan is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council.
Thank you. And on item number 2, the declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. On to item number 3, the adoption of the agenda. I have a move for a seconder. Thank you. And all in favor? Thank you. And item number 4, adopt from the minutes. I can have a move and seconder. Thank you. Seconder. Thank you.
Who second? Sorry.
Charlotte.
Charlotte?
And all in favor? Carried. And on item number 5, business arising. The business arising.
I couldn't see anything that we're not gonna talk about. Was there anything? Any one of you?
No?
Yeah, there's something up.
Okay. On to item number 6, the accounts. It's printed on the back.
There is a little printout on the back of the first quarter, not even, end of February. Where we're at for this year's budget. So just so you know, we have carried over federal grant for museums assistance. We're still working on the collection storage project. And we had until March, end of March to finish that project, so that's why you'll see under government grants there was funding there. Year to date. And nothing unusual that we have restocked the gift shop, so as you can see, we've spent some money there.
Guess where we're going after that.
Yeah, so we're trying to get items in that we normally sell during tourism season, because they take a while to print up the t-shirts and all of that. And we have the OTIC office, which is Ontario Travel. The information center is selling for us again this year. Well, this is their first time with us, but we also have the little newspaper store in the station mall. This will be our second year with them. So that's another reason why we had to get the orders in, so that we can distribute it to our other retail outlets. Yeah. But nothing unusual. Is there any questions?
So a question, so, I guess we can't have a guesstimate on the electrical situations.
If today's repair from the, so we have a major electrical issue, it's the electricity stopped working in the Goldstone house. So the electricians are here, they've been here yesterday and today, and today we had to get, I don't know what the official word is, but a digger. And to dig up some spots that PUC did find. The first spot is just outside the gift shop of the Heritage Discovery Center, where there is a definite power loss. So if that one gets fixed and everything turns back on, we're good to go, and it'll be less than the worst case scenario. So we're figuring anywhere from 5,000 to 35,000 if it's worst case scenario. Worst case means we have to dig further, find some more breaks. There is one for sure where they are right now.
Yeah.
But if the power doesn't go back on, we have to find some more. And it may even mean a new feed from a PUC pole. So, that's the worst case. Today, if they get it fixed, so the city is aware of the emergency.
Okay.
And, they're looking at the, asset management fund and emergency funds
Yeah.
to help us out.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cross our fingers.
Hopefully there's other pools of money that we can draw.
And, if today works, it's not as bad as we anticipated, then it should be fairly easy. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just call for a mover and seconder for the accounts.
I'm sorry.
And all in favor of the accounts? Carried. Okay, on to the curator's report, number 7.
Okay. I made notes so that we can get everything accomplished. On your agenda, I did make known of what we do have to review. So the first one being the annual report, which everyone got in their package. And I have received notes from Charlotte, so thank you very much so I'll take a look. They're just, corrections on grammar and ways to better say things. So those will be adopted. Just taking out little things like don't need to keep saying 2023. When it says that on the front page.
Recommendation.
So those will be incorporated before the final goes to council in May. May is museum month, but it's also part of the Historic Sites Board bylaws that an annual report goes into council. As your sort of review that you have read this, you've been on top of the operations and that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Was there any glaring comments that after reviewing it? This is not an accessible document as of yet. So a plain text version will have to be done to be fully accessible. I do like the graph ones too, because a visual is worth 1,000 words. So to show visitation and things like our education programs and visitation breakdown, special events versus visitors versus schools. So those are all nice little pie graphs and bar graphs.
A lot of work done.
This is, trying to remember everything we do in the year. And this year we had a digital strategy, so that's all part of it as well. And then. Yeah. It was, if there's no other further reviews from anyone, I will incorporate yours, thank you. Love it when a second pair of eyes hit, or maybe by this point, third and fourth. Cause it does go up to senior management as well before it hits council, so, yeah, that's where it lies right now, this draft. But you'll get the final draft too. So, before we approve that, I didn't know if you wanted to approve it separately or with also the CMOG emergency and disaster plan, which is another report in your agenda package. And so we have an emergency and disaster plan, which, by the way, I pulled out when we had our electrical problem. First thing was stay calm. But we've never had a policy, which was the smaller of the two documents. So it really is what we needed to create, because we hadn't had a policy on emergency and disaster, and stating that we have to have a plan. But really to outline that safe, healthy work environment and to ensure the safety of people. Any that comes to the site. So that was sort of the underlying purpose of the policy. And the laying out who the first response, the emergency response team will be. And getting right down to who your emergency response team will be for the museum's collection, should we have something like fire or flood that's going to affect the collection and the artifacts. So remembering that the buildings themselves are artifacts. So we have a full plan, updated plan. We have a policy, which we all received. And the plan has to, for CMOG, which is our Community Museum Operating Grant, has to be less than 30 pages, which we managed to do. Because there's the whole 50 pages of appendixes, which you didn't get, but they're the detail. So like the first page of the appendix A is the flow chart and the response team when we get to the fact that there is artifacts being affected. So, you know, we're calling in outside people with the local, and then even to the point with the Canadian Conservation Institute. So there's all those little things, and one page is tags. So how do you tag an artifact that this could be restored, it's water damaged, it's whatever, it goes that way for restoration. This one, pretty much mulch, it's going to the garbage, but it has to be tagged so you can deaccession those artifacts. So it's all these little things that are in the plan that we had to do. So those we're still tweaking. But the plan covers I hope everything. And who an emergency, because we're owned and operated by the city, who the first team is that gets called, which is even to our corporate communications, so they can deal with media. So while we deal with the emergency.
Yes.
So is everything insured by the city? Like
We do have an
insurance
arts
policy?
We do have an arts rider on the city's insurance policy for the artifacts and paintings and those kinds of things. We've identified.
As an artifact?
Hmm?
Did that include the building as an artifact?
I'll check on that. I mean, the rider does have the art, a lot of it originally was paintings, so I'm gonna have to check to see.
There would be insurance for the content.
Well, and the city insures the buildings, it's just that maybe we should.
Double
note
check.
that it's an artifact.
And to protect digital archives.
Yes,
collections.
so that's in here too, now that we also have a digital strategy. So this plan takes into account physical plant, collections management, digital strategy. Something else. Anyways, so all of those have to be also looked at, and I did look, and we just did physical and collections last year and signed off on those. And lo and behold, it did refer to the emergency disaster plan, and now this refers back to them. But the fire plan. Fire plan is another one, which has all of our, what to do in case of fire with our floor plans of, and site maps, which we pulled out for the electricity. And, but the digital aspect is that all our digital files are on the city's network and backed up. But now that we're starting to digitize the collection, we're going to back it up and place it also probably like at the museum's vault and vice versa. So we're all starting to work together on where to store stuff offsite so they can pull it up. And the same with the bush plane. I think we're all using Past Perfect software for our collection so that we can help each other out. So we're just in the process of actually purchasing an external storage unit and that the city will back up, and then other external storage units that we're gonna place elsewhere. Yeah. So all of this came up into light from doing the plan and our evacuations and just even everything from normal threats to even now COVID is so. And what's really a short version of the 100-page document? But it's mainly, we have to approve the policy and just the main plan, not all the appendices. And if you do approve with a motion, I'll have to get your signature.
Question, so interesting, right? It's COVID. Do you talk about any other backup plans for school kids? I hate to say this, but you know, kidnapping happens or terrorism.
Loss or missing child
Yeah.
is in here,
Okay.
or person. I think I called it person.
Okay.
Also, if it's a basic emergency like fire, how to evacuate groups, in school groups. Our meeting point, should you ever be here, is our parking lot out here, and from there to the bush plane. So to get people off the property so that, you know, the emergency crews can come in. And the same would be when we ever reach that point of a missing child or something, then again,
Yeah.
we will remove the class and
Yeah.
allow police to come in. So,
Okay. It's horrible.
but I know, and it's the same with in the plan, there is other suspected people because we just have so much going on now.
Yeah.
In all communities, how we deal with that, so.
Okay.
There's lockdown, there's code this and code that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Thank you.
Just because we did health and safety as well at our association and firemen and that, are the staff, do you actually have case scenarios where you've actually got the staff in like a mock emergency and done that?
A very good question, because once this is approved, every May, it will be part of staff training. And because that's when summer students come aboard, so we might as well do everybody again. And on the conference, which I'll get to later, but I'll give you the short version, the Alberta Museum Association did a whole session on emergency and disaster planning, because they had fire and flood and COVID, you know, all sort of happening at once. And so they dealt with huge emergencies. And they put us through a mock training, and I asked them for 2 kits and I brought them back. So we'll be using their kits, which is, there's like little color coded pieces of paper. Here's your scenario. And then one color is the response team and the order of which things have to happen, and then some of the things you have to do. And you know, the first steps, and then all the way through to recovery and restoration. So it's it needed a whole huge table. We worked in teams of 10. And we had to pretend we were the team. So we had to delegate who was the top leader and all of that, and work through these pieces of papers. We'll be doing that in May. If you'd like to sit in on it, just let me know.
My tempting happy. I'd actually like to watch that and see how their actions are. Yeah, that would be very interesting to learn what staff here and teachers have to do. If there was
If we had a major,
but if there was a major emergency, it would like to see like in action, what are all.
and the board should know, like, or know that you'll be called upon and be given direction. And it might, your direction might be, okay, take the school group and get them to the bush plane, like, you know.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, and then, yeah, so.
Yeah, and I asked that because we had a fire drill and while we had there's only 4 of us, but we sat down and yeah, some of us did not listen as well as we thought we did, because we had to do it a couple times, right? Because you probably think you're absorbing the information, but when you actually put it into and it was just a random, like, we had a fire drill, alarm went off, and it was like, oh, we didn't do this.
Well,
And it was, because what you do, because sometimes you're not calm, you immediately hear the alarm and you panic, right? So that's why I was asking what the talk, and
yeah,
probably should go through.
and we have a
Everyone.
megaphone, and I only use it for fall rendezvous to yell at all those kids. So,
I need one of those.
and what we found was living history villages and stuff have multiple buildings, and we have 3 buildings, so how do you let people that are on the grounds or in the buildings know? So it's assigning someone that bullhorn to run quickly and say, you know, we're in the midst of an evacuation, please assemble outside and then get them to the meeting point. And yeah, it was all those, and make sure you have working batteries for the bullhorn and all these little things, so.
Tested.
And then
So
even the kit
Yeah.
that we have to put together now is, you know, extra plastic sheeting and buckets and mops, and just even being able to know where to get them if they're not an emergency kit spot. So, because, and always know, like, people checking weekly that they're always there, the bucket and the mop isn't somewhere else. Yeah. And then the lists of who to call are all in those appendices, so like. Who do you call, like service master or something, right? With their big dryers and their, how do you get rid of the moisture, and so we're just, those are just being finalized. The who to calls and the what to do's. Yeah, a lot. We knock on wood that, you know, we haven't had the disasters Alberta has had. So between forest fires and flooding. So those are the 2 big things that were done since our last meeting. And they're ready for their approval.
Okay, so I guess I'll get a mover and seconder for the annual report and the emergency disaster policy.
We're doing them together then?
We can, or you can, or if you'd like, we can separate.
We want to say, should we? Or it doesn't matter.
We can do it together.
Mover and seconder. And all in favor? Sure.
Next on the list is, I'm actually going to the bottom of my list is, we applied for a Fedner youth retreat. And senior management allowed it to go right through because it's 90% funded. And I basically, my strategy was that we didn't get our extra staff that we had put in for on the budget. So in the interim, maybe we can use an intern. So it's already gone to Fedmore, but you needed to be aware. Because 10% will have to be covered on our operating budget, which if worse comes to worse, it just means not as much will be transferred from our net profits at the end of the year to the trust. So like we get to keep net profit from the gift shop and from program. So those things go to the trust account. So if that's the worst case scenario, that 10% of wages for that intern
It's for a full year.
full year. Yeah.
And what's the wage?
I think it will be, I put in for the bottom level of like what would be a full-time person,
Okay,
like not a part-time.
okay.
So like, but I guess that would be like what you would call management, the bottom level of management.
Okay.
Yeah.
So approximately how much would that be?
It's in low 40s.
Okay.
And did that funding include any extra for workshops or training over and above the salary?
No.
Okay.
It was basic salary.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point for future.
There is other funding out there for that. I just don't know if you qualify because you're with the city. If the city has a max of a certain amount, or if the funder has a max per applicant, we might be included under the city.
Yeah.
So
So we're just waiting to hear. I mean, it's been written and submitted and if we get it, fantastic. If we don't, well, keep going.
Positive vibes.
Yeah, that's right. The other one with that is I'm working on an application for the Tourism Growth Fund. And it is a federal, it's through Fednor. It's up to 100% funding. And it is to expand your ability to grow as a tourism destination. So based on our digital strategy, the number one problem was a website. So that's the first thing. Then reading the federal report on tourism and the direction the federal government would like to have Canada become a destination for is to build on expanding to the shoulder seasons. So heat for the blockhouse because it gets closed and it's only been actually since this building that even the Old Stone House has not been a seasonal museum. So that would extend the full all buildings to be year round and past the peak seasons. And with that, looking at accessibility, our Indigenous stories and an immersive experience, all that can be put through on AR and have maybe Mr. Ermitinger, Mr. Clark, and someone from 1812 walk us through on devices, so, and then QR coding and stuff like that, that for accessibility, because all the buildings except for this one are 2-story. So all those things would go into this little first. It's up to 250,000 of 100% funded. First come, first serve, one of their approvals. So we're on the phase 1 application. And it's just a senior management to look at as well. Before we submit. And it'll be phase 2 will be a bigger application, like the full application. We did receive support letters from our tourism partners. Roma Country Tourism Association and Destination Northern. Who are they?
Destination Northern Ontario.
Thank you. David, I just say David. David McLaughlin wrote one from our. That organization does all.
It's a regional
13
tourism organization,
Yeah.
so it's one of the team.
We're 13B of Region 13.
Digital AV, let's see.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is, for your knowledge, and for FedNor, we have to have approval from the board on the applications. So that's why we sit at this table.
Second. Okay, thank you. And all in favor? Thank you.
Now, just on all the others quickly for you, the roof tender has been awarded to Robertson Restoration, who has been our contractors for the house over the last 5 years. So, yeah.
We like them.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
like them.
Yeah.
They do good work.
Sorry, when will that start?
Well, we're just working with them on start date timeline. Yeah, trying to fit it in. Yeah, we don't want them coming while all the school groups are here, because they have to put up scaffolding. So
Yeah.
we want it done before September, when we hit fall rendezvous. So. Yeah, so that's the cedar shake roof of the old stone house. Project this year, and we're trying to figure out. With our public works department, what we'll tackle from capital asset management money. So we last year bought the split rail fencing, but we haven't fixed the split rail fencing, so that's a part of it too. That stuff. It'll be a busy summer. May is museum month. And we are doing a proclamation to the mayor. And this is what's happening. May 18th is International Museum Day, so it will be free of charge. And working with Thinking Rock Community Arts to do maybe something like quilts, because we've been moving the collection all around from the attic and found a bunch of quilts. So, and they do a community arts quilt when they come. So we're also hosting MIAC, which is the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and their art show, May 11th. We're going to do some more Fridays by the Fire. We had to cancel this week because no electricity. So we're gonna put a few more into May. Our junior gardener program starts. Our reenactors are gonna start their practice on site, so full regalia, where at least for the British Redcoats coming. The Friends of is going to host their AGM May 27th and also do volunteer recognition. Our summer students start just in time for bus tours and cruise ships. And going to council May 13th. In order to have our reenactors on site with the firearms and noise bylaw exemption reports.
I just make a comment. You think that there's another, wish we can just rewrite that bylaw so you don't have to come all the time. You know, I wonder if,
I'll talk to the legal department and see
Yeah.
what can be done.
you know, I mean, it's not really a bother, but it is a bother. And maybe unless something drastically changes where you're gonna have 100 cannons versus your typical cannon, you know?
Yeah.
So like, it should be just like a blanket, you know, laws and.
But if I could say, also too for noise violation is that bylaw when you submit it every year, it's included in the council agenda notes. So it might be more awareness that this is happening, given the kind of the way community and the world works. It would have that extra
The
notice to the community
previous
that's
board
happening.
members had decided that same thought, that if
Yeah.
it goes every year,
It's just extra awareness.
then people become aware because it's in the agenda package.
That's
That's
true.
council
Yeah,
always, so they all know.
But
Um,
on Sandra's note, if it's like really cumbersome and it's not templated, or maybe that's somewhere
If
we
I
can just
just-
process.
yeah,
These are last year's and I'm just gonna change the date.
Oh, perfect.
yeah. I mean, it's not too cumbersome for you.
And we're
It
good.
goes in, I think, with a bylaw, right?
The noise bylaw has been updated.
Okay.
FYI. For the
So
city, so,
the legal department gives us a bylaw to be exempt from the bylaw.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
yeah,
so those, they're aware
yeah,
that it's coming, and I mean, I just pull the reports from every year. I can just sort of change the dates and
yeah. I just thought if it's
Yeah.
a bother, you know,
Yeah.
because it just goes under consent and most people.
Yeah.
Brothers.
so that's, the other thing is just strategic plan is still on the agenda. And we will get going on it now. So, but, from the conference, I have multiple notes and if you'd like me to send them to you, because I just learned so much. I mean, stuff you know, but a different perspective, a different, and one of the things was in your strategic plan, incorporating the indigenous voice. And then all these different, it was a lot of indigenous led and indigenous conversations. The theme of the conference last week was collaboration. So we had people from all over, it was the Canadian Museum Association, so from every province, plus they had international speakers. So you kind of sit there and you think, oh, you know, from Sault Ste. Marie in a little community museum, and then you're hearing all this stuff, but like Muskoka Heritage Discovery Center presented, and I was like, okay, we're the same as them. They presented on they presented on reconciliation through partnership and collaboration. And they got the Smithsonian and the Smithsonian Indigenous leaders to help them and start the process. And that they have a whole new exhibit in their Discovery Center where it is all Indigenous. And they've got a birchbark canoe, and then they're on a dish with one spoon territory. And so that kind of Wampum story, they had the guy that made their birchbark canoe made a birchbark bowl and spoon. And then they had 4 female artists do moccasins and beaver. But it's more than these kinds of things. They also had an image or photograph done by Indigenous photographer of just the land around Muskoka and then the people that put the exhibit together. And so there'd be like a banner up or a text panel with a huge image of this artist. And then who made the birchbark canoe and the dish with one spoon. And then it was more than just the symbolism or what those mean, like continue on the journey and all of that. It was their story, like their interpretation and the knowledge coming from the elders. So and then it was presented, they showed us videos of those people telling the story that are in the exhibit. It was like real in-depth and very true, like, so, that truth and reconciliation is, it was really, they're offering space to them to tell their story. Yeah, so now I've got all kinds of ideas. Watch out where that cake shop lands in the future, because that's a great exhibit space.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
On that topic of Indigenous, recognition, I also put a recommendation in the annual report, so maybe the same land acknowledgement.
Yes.
And maybe personalize it a bit more that's related to the work of the year and the history of the building and to the war making, like something that's a little bit different different from.
Yeah,
land
no,
acknowledgement.
that's also, so,
Some I've
no,
never seen in
yeah,
other ones.
but
Yeah.
the group called Know History at KNOW. Were there, and they are working with Mitch Case with the Métis Nation because they now have the building on John Street, the church. And so they're looking at how to tell their story. But this building sits on the plots of land that were Indigenous and Métis. And there is a map that says where everybody lived. And so this was the river's edge. And the Ermitinger had a grist mill here too, but then there was all these plots of land, which curved over to the bush plain as well. Yeah. And so we're all working together to tell the story of this land, like this site. So they're coming in May, the Know History. So I want to meet with them too. Yeah.
If you're done, I just have a question. Yeah, I know you have a partnership with the Golden University, right? With the speech of the
Yes, I can't say that. Shinwalk, I can
Thank
say.
you.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, when people come and say, I really want to learn more about the Aboriginal Indigenous, is your staff, forthcoming to say, go and visit the university and get that new building and, that partnership?
And we do with general visitors, and we especially do with Road Scholar bus tours, because Peter White, Joel Surratt are entertainment, and Joel is a descendant of Shinwalk, and he talks about it and invites them over. And at some point, the new building, the SKG, I call it, because I can't say that. So they know, I always, every time poor Diane Roach, I always say, I can't say it. So I always call it SKG. I'm working with them right now because first of all, they don't have the capacity for tourism right now. They're an educational institution and they're trying to get that going, but it's still even not ready. Yeah, so there's different aspects that I'm helping guide them. So I'm hoping we can all work together on their project and our projects. And
Also to add what you were saying to the staff, all the summer staff, did they get a half-day tour of some of the present sites?
We have, but we've never been able to go to SKG. So this year I think we will have to make a full day. But if you're ever in the front doors of Algoma University, so Krista McCracken, who is from the archives of Algoma University in the library, she's worked on that exhibit, and so the story's there, and she's the one that she sort of led it. I didn't have to do much but help with the money, finding money. We did the oral histories of 30 survivors. So there's all these things that we could be incorporated. So those are now on the Public Library's website. Yeah, but those are, yeah. So that's, I'll give you my report if you're interested on everything I've learned. And how we're all gonna share this now, move forward with some new and exciting things. So that's sort of, I think, the end of. Oh, the only other one was on the conference was that there was a session on sustainability. And that's a big topic, right? So ICOM is the International Media Museums, and they have made it a mandate about museums and sustainability. So it was interesting because the lady that presented was a conservator. And she said, now, none of us are about to do this drastically yet because it's against the grain, but she said, turn off your HVACs at night. And that was her opening line, and we all kind of went, what? There's artifacts being stored in those environmentally controlled conditions. So, but she said, if your items are that unstable, put them in a microenvironment and keep that one space on an HVAC unit. And the rest, and then I started thinking, like right now, we don't have an HVAC unit in the theater, but like, so she said, and track it, because of the money you save on the heating bills and your gas and electricity and all of that, maybe you could do other things, plus you're greening the world. So that was a really short version of her 2-hour conversation with us. But so there was everything at the conference, which was really exciting anyways. Thank you for your ear. So interesting.
Okay.
We did I just want to make sure I got I think I wrote them on my report. The mover and the seconder for the Bednor. We did, right?
Yes.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I got it first. Okay,
I don't have a report for the Militaries Committee because I wasn't there in April. I'm sure I can answer questions if there is any.
I think the only thing I know of is they're working on more digital. Because for down the road, doors open might be more,
Yeah.
where they had digital and virtual doors open. That was one thing I remember. There might be more.
So, item number 9, new business. New business.
I gave you all my.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
When do you think the first cruise ship's coming and your first John Rhodes or Rhodes Scholars?
Both on the same day,
Of
May
course.
29.
May 29th.
So on the cruise ship. That one is Pearl Seas, and they have been offered a new itinerary from us. They will still come by shuttle to the attractions in the downtown core, like a hop on, hop off. But they also are being given a couple other itineraries, and one is from us, and we have partnered with Hogan's Homestead to do the Great Canadian Maple Excursion. Where they will get on a bus and go out to the sugar shack there, Hogan's in Dooley, then and do all of that, and then come back for a maple lunch here with Hogan syrup, and then but the traditional fur trade story of maple sugar and maple syrup. So they'll get the historic portion and a tour of the site, and they'll still get. So it's a full day excursion that we've curated with And we're selling on the cruise ships.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So we'll have them no matter what. Passengers that don't sign up for land excursions. And then, and the other part of your question on Road Scholars is we're partnered this year with the MacGuffins and the Métis Paddle. And they will, Road Scholars will come to us on Friday night as usual. We'll still do our Peter White and Joel Surratt entertainment and the story of Shinlock and Ermitina and all that. And then they're going to experience it through the paddle on a nice day. Or a heritage walk. They get the choice if they don't want to paddle. And then also, if it isn't a nice day, they are coming back here, but it'll be led by that organization on our property. So there's a nice tie-in happening with that itinerary now. Because we couldn't get SPG yet. So, yeah,
That's great.
Mhm.
Very exciting. So, last question, the amount you charge for the Maple Tour, what amount do we get from the tour?
We get an admin fee.
Okay,
We take in all funds and pay Owens.
okay,
We're paying an interpreter to be on the bus.
okay,
We're getting our money for our lunch
okay,
and we're getting our money for the tour.
okay, so we walk away with a healthy side.
So all the fees we would normally charge,
Yeah,
plus a small admin fee, on top of, just for the coordination.
yeah, awesome. How many cruise ships this year increase
Oh,
approximately?
it's down, I think,
Yeah, that's
just
what I
because
thought.
the ones that parked in on the US side are not. But they would be bussed over, they had like literally an hour and a half and then they'd be bussed back. So they were doing a quick tour, so it was admission basically. Um, There's a few new ones that we have been here maybe once that are coming.
Are we gonna invite them?
I have the list, so I'll forward it, just so
That'd be
you
nice.
know who's coming. It is, Pearl Seas has the majority,
Okay,
which is there, but there are some others in the fall, especially. September time period, which is from hosting from other countries. So that's when we get the French speaking, but they're French, German, Swiss. They're coming from those kinds of countries. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, I guess on to our next meeting is May 8th. In the summer kitchen.
That will be hopefully in the summer kitchen and right before everything goes council. So if there's any changes, you'll know.
We have to have it's a plan to have the strat plan done until the next meeting.
It should be in draft form by the end of June, which is when CMOG will want to see a copy.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be official, they have to. The federal government with the museums, Canadian Heritage and our provincial CMOG requirements say you have to be updating it. But they are a little lax right now on ensuring it's done by a certain date because of COVID. Everyone put it on. When it would have been a really good time for us all. We all said that at the conference. Why didn't we do it then? You know, we were all at home and. So, yeah, oh, well. So, yeah, I will be probably sending something out to have a little staff and a few board members start hashing. Yeah.
Hey, just need a mover and second for adjournment. Thank you.
Who's second?
And all in favor? Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone, for a little longer than, no, still before 1:30. I'll turn off the
Thank you, Kathy.
YouTube.
All what you do.
I enjoy it thoroughly. I got all charged up again at the conference.
It's just that we have a conference in town with professional foresters. Conference is in town, it's at large